clock is now ticking to find support as the budget comes up for a confidence vote in a week's time. Their best option appears to be the NDP, and with 7 seats, that party could tip the scales and help the government pass its budget by voting for it or by abstaining. Gord Johns is a British Columbia NDP MP. So you've had a few days now, Gord. Have you decided whether you're going to vote against the budget, vote to support it, or just abstain?
Right now, Catherine, our objective, each of us in the NDP caucus, is to go home to our ridings, to listen to constituents, meet with stakeholders, and hear what they have to say, what they've seen in the budget, what they didn't see, and what they're concerned about in the budget.
What is it that you want to hear from them that you haven't already gleaned by looking at it yourself?
Well, I think the bottom line is, do people want to have an election? You know, I think that's first and foremost. And if they do, you know, are they willing to vote against this budget? And do they want us to vote against this budget, bring the government down, and go back to the polls? We just had an election 5 months ago. If not, then are they willing to accept the budget as is? And so right now, we saw this government table a budget that was supposed to be transformational. It's far from that. There's huge letdowns. There's things that are in the budget that we've got concerns about. There's things that aren't in the budget, and we've got a lot of questions why and what's happening. And then there's some things that we like in the budget. So, you know, looking at all of that and weighing that out, we need to go back to our constituents and ask them what their thoughts are on it.
What worries you most about the budget?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the cuts to the public service. I mean, 40,000 jobs that are going to be cut. We know what it looks like. You know, when this government cut 3,000 jobs at CRA, you know, in terms of the call centers, people can't get an answer when they call CRA. We saw the Conservatives do this when they were in government. They cut a third of Veterans Affairs, and the backlog grew to 50,000 for veterans on their disability applications. So when the public service gets cut, people don't get service. They don't get the support they need. So starting there, that's certainly one thing that we're deeply concerned about, and the lack of money for things like pharmacare to sign more deals and more agreements. So there's a lot there that we could talk about in terms of what's missing and things that are in the budget that we've got concerns about.
Now, in terms of how the NDP approaches this, you said you're going to go listen to your constituents. Are the 7 of you all going to be on the same page here? Or if you come back and say, okay, my constituents are ready to go to an election over this and one of your colleagues doesn't feel that way, could you each go in your own direction?
Well, I think, you know, you're not going to see us vote, you know, against and for the budget, for example. I think that as a group, we're going to have those conversations. And
but some could abstain? Is that what's baked into
potentially that could happen. I mean, it's pretty hard to vote for a budget where you're going to cut 40,000 jobs and you say you're creating jobs, but you're cutting jobs at the same time.
But the size of the public service has grown, I mean, exponentially over the last few years. Do you not feel that there's any room for pulling back?
I think that right now, when we see the duress and the stress that people are under, working people, in terms of what they need help. And right now, we're not meeting the service levels that Canadians expect. I cited the CRA as a cut of 3,000 jobs. What's 40,000 going to look like? Ask a veteran that waited, you know, for well over a year to have their disability application open. So, you know, right now people need help. They're dealing with the rising cost of living, the pressures that they're under. There was nothing in this budget to address, you know, the impact that, you know, that they're facing in terms of cost of living. We see the biggest corporations posting record profits. You know, they're getting hit at the grocery till, they're getting hit when they at the pump, they're getting hit when they try to access the internet or their cell phone provider and on their mortgages and or to pay their rent. And at the same time, the big banks, the big grocery stores, the big telecommunication companies are making record profits right now.
Now, I mean, there is some conversation about telcos in the budget, but I want to talk about what's in the budget in terms of some of your personal priorities. Part of the reason we're having this conversation, there are specific things that you pushed for, in some cases for years, that I imagine it's difficult for you to say, well, I won't support a budget that has this in it. You wanted, for instance, more a national aerial firefighting fleet after dealing with fires in your own riding. This budget leases 4 planes for that purpose. For years, you've been advocating for a biomass fuel tax credit. That is here. Has the government made it pretty tough for you to say a straight no to this budget?
Well, these are wins for everybody. So everybody wins when, we make sure that we have a national aerial firefighting fleet
but
to
if the
deal with
government
surge
goes
capacity.
down, yeah.
Well, I mean, we saw what happened last summer. I mean, everybody should be on board. These aren't partisan issues. We're dealing with wildfires like we've never seen. You know, the last 5 years, you know, are record-breaking. The impact on human health, on climate, you know, from the release of carbon emissions. This is having a huge toll on the economy. And guess who's impacted the most? Indigenous peoples, because they live in rural communities.
Can you vote against that?
Well, this is going to be the challenge that I'm going to be, you know, having in those difficult conversations with my caucus. But first, I'm going to go home and talk to my constituents. They have said that this needs to be a priority, that when provinces and territories are in trouble, that we have the ability to support them with surge capacity, with aerial firefighting. And that being said, BC didn't have a record season when it came to wildfires, but they had a record season in loaning equipment to other provinces and territories. So a lot of pressure there. Of course, the forest sector under massive duress right now and pressure. The biomass tax credit is designed to be an input tax credit to help deal with, you know, some of that waste material for clean energy and support the forest sector. So this will generate a lot of jobs. So yeah, they definitely have put some items in there that are going to make an impact for workers
and maybe
for
make
the
it tough
environment.
For you. Well, none of this is happening in a vacuum, though. Obviously, we are seeing what has played out with the Conservative Party this week. A floor crosser, an MP, Matt Genereux, saying he's going to resign. How does that affect your calculation here, that the numbers are shifting?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, my best wishes to Matt and his family. I worked closely, as you know, with Matt Genereux on men's mental health issues, and he was a champion. We did Father's Day on the Hill to talk about the challenges that men face when it comes to mental health. And he's a great MP, you know, one of the most nonpartisan MPs in Parliament, and a very likable human being. In terms of the math, I don't think that makes a difference. We are going to go back, listen to our constituents, come back as a caucus, have that robust conversation on not only what's best for our ridings, but what's best for Canada. And that's really important. That has to be first and foremost in all of our decision making. I mean, we've proven time and time again that we're the adult in the room. Whether it be at committee or in the House of Commons, we're going to do that too when it comes back to how we calculate how we move forward. And certainly our priority first and foremost is always to our constituents. So I need to go back to my riding, listen to the people who I am responsible to ensure that I'm engaging them and how I make decisions, especially decisions that have such a profound magnitude on our country. But like I said, I don't think most Canadians want to go back to the polls. Certainly know that the challenges we face right now as a country with the threat of Donald Trump, that is coming into the calculation in all the conversations I'm having back home with people on the phone this week. So we're hearing from people, and but there needs to be a more robust conversation. Indigenous peoples, you know, we're seeing a cut of 2% at Indigenous Services Canada. How could Indigenous peoples have a cut when they need actually more investment? The gap with for infrastructure for Indigenous peoples is enormous, and so this isn't a time to cut.
The government is attempting this push-pull here because there is additional investment for drinking water, but I do want to ask you, we just have a moment left. You talk about having conversations. Have the Liberals tried to woo you, Gord Johns? Are they trying to get you to cross the floor?
Oh, that's an everyday conversation they have with me, and it's a flat no, and they know. I mean, that's been going on for years, and no.
Has there been any added intensity with everything that's going on right now?
No, I think that I've been pretty clear, and they know that I'm a New Democrat. I mean, let's face it, they've moved over closer to the progressive Conservatives of the past. I don't think it was a far stretch for Chris D'Entremont it wasn't a big leap for him to cross over and join the Liberal Party of today, because Carney's running on an agenda that I would say is a progressive Conservative agenda, and the Conservative Party has certainly pivoted back to more of the Reform Party of the past and a mega type party.
Do you then feel confident that no NDP MP will cross the floor?
I'm very confident. I mean, you look at the 7 MPs, they are strong social New Democrats. You know, we are dedicated to our cause and our movement, and you will see that in the coming days and years ahead. None of us have. I'm not even concerned about that in the very least at all.
Okay. Thank you for this conversation.
Yeah,
Gord Johns,
thanks for having me on.
NDP MP. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Catherine. Thanks.